Alright, so here's some guidelines on if you are separating your mice. So if you are separating mice, specifically if you're separating female mice, it's really important you give them lots of enrichment, because without other mice, they can get easily depressed. So you need to keep their mind busy so that they do not get depressed. Because if they are super stressed and depressed, they are more prone to illnesses, and obviously that is not what we want. Step 1, why are your mice fighting? So let's just take this example. Say your mice are fighting over food. So that is actually pretty normal. So step 2 will help you identify what you need to do, because mice can be kind of picky, and if the other mouse has something that the mouse wants, they will feel free to take it from them or throw a big squeaky tantrum. So you need to figure out why your mice are fighting. There are a lot of things that your mice could be fighting over. Maybe they could be territorial. Maybe you have too many or too little items. Usually if your mice have just met or they have just come to a new home, they can kind of be a little territorial over certain things. That is why it is important to have multiple hideouts and multiple wheels, and sometimes even multiple water bottles. So another thing is that if your mice are fighting over food, you should probably, if you are using a food bowl, you should probably move or switch to sprinkling food around their cage. I actually thought that they were fighting because they were hungry, so I started using a food bowl, but that was a big mistake, because they can get territorial over the food bowl and then the other mice can't get to the food bowl. But if you sprinkle food around their cage, then they can all get to it, unless they're territorial over the entire cage, because then I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, so they could be territorial, or they could fight for food, or there are plenty of other reasons. So hopefully the next steps will help you sort of break it down. Step 2, now that we've figured out why the mice are fighting, we now need to figure out the severity of their fights. How bad are they fighting? If they are fighting over food, you need to figure out, are they chasing each other and attacking each other, or are they just getting mad and throwing a squeaky tantrum, or are they throwing a squeaky tantrum and then stealing food from the other mice? And if they are stealing food, how much food is it? Is the other mouse losing weight? So that is what we need to figure out. There are a lot of different severities, and I am not going to try and guess all of the situations, because there are so many possible situations and so many possible different outcomes. There is no way of me guessing your specific situation. So if the mice are fighting, you need to figure out how bad they are fighting, and then you can go from there. Step 3, figuring out what you should do with your mice. So, depending on both the reason they're fighting and the severity of it, you will have to make a logical decision on what to do. And so, yeah, it just depends on, again, the reason and the severity of it. If they are actually physically hurting each other, you may need to separate them, but that should always be a last resort. So, figuring out what you should do depends on your specific situation. I will always suggest that you have a spare cage on hand just in case you do need to separate your mice for any reason. Maybe they're sick, or maybe they're fighting. Doesn't matter. You will eventually, at least once, need to use that cage. So that's basically it for step 3. And so moving on to step 4. Step 4. So now that you have figured out what to do, or at least you are still, or maybe you're still in the process of figuring out what to do, now is your chance to do your research on whatever is going on. If you are wanting to separate your mice, maybe you can do a little research on that, though I did have a little trouble researching separating mice, especially female mice. So yeah, just do your research and figure out if anyone else is in your same situation. There's a big mouse community, so yeah, there's a lot of people who you can talk to about that. Not only that, but there is also places like Google and YouTube, and I'm sure plenty of other websites that you can find just a ton of information, and maybe even some other person maybe in your same situation. So yeah, that's step 4. Also, if your mice are fighting over food, again, you can start sprinkling food around their enclosure. That may help. Now, if they are getting territorial over items, you may have to restart and just take all the items out. You may have to take all the items out and just start with plain bedding and slowly add in more. That is what you would do if you are introducing mice, or if you're reintroducing mice, which I actually made a video on how I reintroduced my mice. So yeah, those are just some ideas. Alright, so I hope this video was helpful and maybe give you some guidelines. Also, if you do end up separating your mice, again, provide them with lots of enrichment, but they also need to get daily time outside of their cage on top of that. So you can free roam them, get a playpen, or you can mouse proof a room, which I have not done, or you can just keep a very close eye on them and make sure that you are very fast if they do happen to get into something, because they are also very fast, so you need to follow closely behind them. Anyway, have a great day, and bye!